I always know when I have, even with pro couples, when they're staying quiet and they just kind of do what they're told, I said, ask me why. I want you to understand it. And I
Mhm.
want you to make me think about it too. And so it makes me a better teacher and a dancer. If you ask me questions, I start developing as well. Well, I think it's also a big difference between teaching kids and teaching adults. And I find that very fascinating.
Yeah.
We just had a conversation about this with someone, but again, like I said, with kids, you kind of you put them into this and they just do it. I
Yeah.
mean, we're teaching our kids right now. We can't teach them. We have to give them to someone else to learn. But they don't want to listen to
No.
mom and dad. But their bodies are able to just do anything you ask them for. They're like
Mm.
little robots sometimes, and that's what we see on the floor sometimes too. And that's okay. They can't find their personality until they develop it.
Okay.
Whereas when you're teaching adults from the beginning, these people, successful people, right, that probably went to college, they've had their whole big life before them, they've learned a trade. I mean, we have so many
Yeah.
doctors and attorneys and
Real
do you
estate.
remember
Yeah.
there was a student that was an actual brain surgeon
Yeah.
and I thought that dancing was the hardest thing she's ever had to do? You remember Karen, right?
Yeah.
But they learn a certain way. They already learn a trade. And so for us to teach them something new is very different because it's more on an intellectual level.
Mhm.
It's not physical. So we have to find a way to explain it to them intellectually.
Mhm.
We can't show it and for them to copy it. So it's really, really cool. So learning how to teach adults from the very beginning, I think to me is most fascinating
Yeah.
and not injuring them. That's a big one.
Yes. Yeah. I think you keyed in on something really important there, which is if you're working with adults, it has to be on an intellectual level. Um, Adults aren't going to just pop into a spot and be like, okay, I'm here. They're going to ask, well, why am I there? What is it? What is this doing? How do I get from foot one to foot two? Okay, now where am I looking? Where is my hand going? Whereas with a kid, you're just like, okay, hit this line. And they're like, okay, I got this. It's like,
Stand behind you and they just do it perfectly. But see,
exactly.
I love why I always know when I have, even with pro couples, when they're staying quiet and they just kind of do what they're told, I said, ask me why. I want you to understand it. And
Mhm.
I want you to make me think about it too. And so it makes me a better teacher and a dancer. If you ask me questions, I start developing as well. It's really interesting. It's I enjoy teaching pro am a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah.
One of one of my coaches used to always say, you have to always ask what, why, and how.
Mhm.
So if you can't, and so if the teacher can't answer those questions, you have to then, see what you need to do, why you need to do it, and how you need to do it. And you have to cover those three grounds. And remember, a lot of the adults that we teach, their muscles are not made the way we were because unfortunately, we started at a young age where our muscles are growing. So
Unfortunately.
fortunately, yeah, and we're molded into this stuff. So I remember teaching when I first moved to America and started teaching. I remember having to kind of go back in my head from when I was kind of a young 11 years old and try and remember some of those lessons that I got taught. And so it was very important where sometimes we focus on what we're doing now and we try and put that onto our students, not realizing they're missing so many layers of,
Mhm.
of dancing that they're not going to do it. So it's definitely a slow process because it's taken us years to perfect it. So I don't know why it would be so quick for others.
Well, also you have to remember that people that had a big chunk of their life not dancing, they got used to certain things. Like right now, we're sitting up talking to you, right? I'm at
Mhm.
the edge of my seat right now instead of being back here,
Yep.
right? But typically, if you were at a keyboard, you would be sitting like this. At a car,
Mhm.
I lie down when I'm driving, really like that.
Yeah.
It's because you're from Disco, she's
I don't,
gangster.
yeah, that's what it is. But I just have long arms. I don't know. But there's all these things that we do to our bodies that become natural. And
Mhm.
so the certain way that we stand, the back of our feet with the rib cage set back, we have to now undo all of that. Whereas with a child, you don't. They don't
Yep.
have those things yet. We teach them how to sit down properly.
Yep. I
So
don't know how many times in the last several years of teaching, I've called my mother, who's a physical therapist, and gone, okay, I'm working with a guy. He walks like a guy. His weight is on the outside pinky toe, back of the heel. He's not bringing his feet to close together. So what exercises do you have in your toolbox that I can give to him to get him to be on the center of the foot, inside edge when we're doing rhythm or Latin, and for him to bring his feet to brush together? Because the gait of most of my older gentlemen is wider and externally rotated. That's never something that when I was going through learning in a collegiate program that we ever talked about. That's not something that we had to worry about because most of us had either a dance background in ballet, tap, or jazz from a younger age where we already knew what first position was and we knew how to hold our core in. So yeah, I think the lessons that you have to tailor for older individuals and adults are very different with the ones that you have to do from a youth program.
Don't you feel like right now, because you had to figure out how to teach them, you just became such
more
much better?
Yeah.
I don't know if she's gonna love it or hate it that I say this. There was one particular student that made me rethink the way I teach. Kay Burton.
Yeah.
Sorry, Kay, for doing this to you. But Kay has a huge knowledge of body. This is what really interests her. She does dirt tonics. She does all these different things. She even came with me to get certified on Love.Live.Dance like 4 years ago. But she enjoys learning about body and she understands how different muscles, different muscle group connect together. So she always asked me questions and why and this and that. And I had to really figure it out. So talking to her about stuff and kind of learning on her, I think made me a better teacher. So that was really fun. Still ask me why every time, and I love it because like the one person that will always, in the group class, I'll always say any questions, and I look at Kay and I wait for it because she asks me the best questions, which make me a better teacher. I love it. That gets me to open up my mind and realize my body works differently than someone else's. How can I teach them what I do? They can't do what I do because their body structure is different.